Welcome back to Teen TV Deep Dive. Here on this channel, we talk about all things Teen TV. As we know, it's another summer, so that means another summer of Love Island USA. Today, I'm going to be recapping week 2 of season 8 of Love Island USA, aka episodes 5 through 9, if you like to follow along. Before I get too deep into everything, I wanted to give a quick disclaimer. I am aware that the Islanders are real people with real feelings, and the show isn't always edited to depict them in a positive light. With that being said, I am sharing my thoughts and opinions based on what is shown on the screen. Nothing more, nothing less. Now that that's out of the way, the first couple I wanted to talk about is Kata and Zach. In my opinion, they seem like the least problematic couple. They initially coupled up in the earlier days of the experience, and now they're just chilling. I love Kata Down. I feel like she's so real and funny, and when she first came in, there was a little bit of tension between her and Melanie, but the way that Kata instantly shut it down and just moved forward, like, I love that. She's so real. And this week, the kind of ruffle in Kata and Zach's connection is that everyone else is kind of panicking because these 3 new bombshells come in episode 5. But Kata and Zach seem the most secure out of everyone. And so we see that Zach tries to temp check, and he's basically saying how he's closed off. He isn't interested in getting to know any of the girls that are currently coming in, and he feels very secure in his connection with Kata. And so Kata is kind of like, oh, love that you're closed off, but I'm not. And we see that Zach, he's not really feeling that. They actually go to bed, and he wakes up the next day, and he's like, you know what, never mind. It was a last in judgment. I'm not closed off. I shouldn't be so closed off in these early days. And we see that at this point, Kata already took what he said and she ran with it. She actually made plans that she was going to talk to the new boy bombshell, Caleb, and it never really ends up going anywhere, but I thought that was very interesting. I think Zach saw some vulnerability from Kata for a moment, and so I think he mistook her kindness for weakness, and she kept him on his toes, so I love that. Moving on to Anaya and KC, I feel like every season of Love Island, there's this competition, quote unquote, of the most secure couple in the villa is going to be the parents of the villa. But I feel like this season, without explanation, without competition, it really goes to Anaya and KC. We constantly see that people go to both Anaya and KC for advice, reality checks, support, and not just the girls go to Anaya and the guys go to KC. We see that KC will talk to the girls and he will give them reality checks with needed. He'll be that shoulder for them to lean on. And we see that Anaya and Sincere have a pretty good connection as well. Not romantic connection, but platonic connection as well. And we even saw in episode 9, strange enough, that Anaya was there while Corbin was venting to her, but that was kind of odd. But nonetheless, they do offer a lot of emotional support for everyone in the villa, and it makes sense. Anaya works in charity, like her family's charity-based business, and then Casey is a nursing assistant. So to see them naturally take care of other people and other people view them as trustworthy is not surprising to me. I love Anaya Down, but I wish she would put some of the energy that she channels into taking care of other people and put that towards her and Casey's connection. I feel like Casey does a really good job of reassuring Anaya whenever there's new bombshells coming in, before and after recouplings, just constantly telling her that he likes her, he likes where this connection is headed, and he feels really positive about it. But I feel like Anaya isn't really returning that same energy. I feel like it's only fair that she tells him that she feels good about their connection and that she wants to get to know him and she actively wants to pursue him, because he might need some reassurance too. But otherwise than that, I feel like Anaya and Casey's connection is very promising, and I feel like it has a lot of potential. Just seeing their open and honest communication and seeing how even when they have had a little like bump in the road here and there. Like Soul, another bombshell we'll talk about later, she comes in and Casey says that Soul kind of looks like his ex. And then word gets around to Anaya and she brings it up to him. And they sort that out pretty quickly. So just from that, I see I see good things in their future, honestly. And I will say that I feel like KC is the funniest man in the villa so far. I feel like every episode he's making a funny face and like he says a funny line, like he constantly cracks me up. Moving on to Trinity and Bryce, they're a little awkward but cute. You can tell that this is uncharted territory for them both. Trinity is 22 and then Bryce is 29. So they're on the complete opposite ends of their 20s. And then we also hear from time to time that Trinity isn't used to being with people like Bryce. Like Bryce isn't her usual type that she goes for and will date. And so we see that it causes just some little misunderstandings. And so in episode 8, we see that Trinity and Bryce have this conversation where Trinity says that she wants more affection and she feels like looking around at all the other couples, seeing where they are with their like physical contact that they make with one another and just like showing that they're interested in one another and that they're attracted to each other. She feels that her and Bryce's connection is lacking that, and she brings that up to him. And we see that this conversation leads to a major communication. From what I took away from it, I feel like both Trinity and Bryce are saying, I like you, but based on your actions, I don't really know if you like me. And I feel like Trinity kind of wanted to open the original conversation that they had, open it up to a discussion about maybe what their love languages are or what affection and types of physical touch that both her and Bryce feel comfortable with. But I feel like Bryce mistook it as a completely different thing and he basically turned it into, oh, well, maybe Trinity's trying to soft launch that she isn't into me and that I need to start looking for other connections. And so now all of a sudden, Bryce is saying how he has always been interested in Kata and that she's his number two in the villa. And so he has this quick little chat with Zach, trying to make sure that's okay. And then he ends up pulling Kata for their chat, and she confirms, like, no, I just feel friendly vibes. And it's just awkward. It's awkward between all four of them now. And so to me, I feel like Bryce pulling Kata was out of insecurity, not genuine curiosity. I feel like when Trinity was saying how she was kind of looking for more affection out of their connection, Bryce took it as it was lacking and that it's time to jump ship. But I feel like Trinity was communicating that so that they can build their connection and work on that to make sure that they're still happy with one another. I do think that Trinity and Bryce do genuinely like each other, and I'm very interested to see where their connection might go. So now that has kind of been my recap for the entire week two, but now I wanted to focus in on episode 9, specifically the recoupling that happens with the 3 new bombshells. So America got to vote for who the 3 new bombshells should be recoupled with. And so now I'm going to talk about the pairings pre this recoupling and then the bombshell that got introduced into the mix. It's kind of weird trying to give you guys like a precursor for how I'm going to go about it, but once I start talking about it, I feel like it'll make sense. So originally, Kenzie and Corbin were coupled up, but America votes for Kenzie to now be in a couple with Caleb. Kenzie and Corbin weren't anything super interesting to me. I feel like anytime Kenzie and Corbin are on the screen, they're just repeating the same bouts of information. We've seen Kenzie on our screen for 2 weeks, and the only thing that I know about her is that she hasn't dated more than one guy before, and this is her first time having a roster. And as for Corbin, the only thing I know about him is that he's Mr. Nonchalant, like he's 6'4" and 220 pounds. And that information was volunteered from Bryce. So they weren't anything to run home about. But I will say that Kenzie seems more interested in Caleb, and honestly, it makes sense both visually and just how their conversation flowed. Kenzie and Caleb seem like a couple I would see in real life. Moving on, Gabriel has to leave Beatrice for Jen. I would say that Gabe and Bea's connection was a lot deeper than what was portrayed. We see that Gabe was kind of always kissing other girls like as quickly as possible, and then Bea was always saying how she didn't really care and how it is what it is, and she'll be quick to move on from Gabe if there was ever any trouble in paradise with them. But we'll get into this later. There's a lot more feelings attached than what came across the screen in previous episodes. Neither Jen nor Gabriel seem thrilled to be in this couple, even though we've seen a couple nights before they had conversation and they kissed, and it kind of seemed like there was a bit of a vibe, and Gabe was even interested in continuing to explore that. But now that they're official, they don't seem too happy about that. Now, the last couple that this America's Vote and recoupling has affected is Sincere and Melanie. Sincere has to leave Melanie for Soul, the last bombshell to come in. I would definitely say Sincere and Melanie have had the most tumultuous connection of the season. We've seen them go through kind of arguments or disagreements about how Sincere kind of wanting to explore. He tried to explore with Kata, and that was a whole issue for Melanie, and she was really upset about that. Then we see Melanie, every time there's a bombshell in the village, she's about to like do a backflip, start doing a whole dance routine just to welcome them in every single time. And so Sincere, he felt the way about that and he brought that up. And basically, to sum it all up, they both want to, I'll take that back. Sincere wants to explore, but he doesn't want Melanie to explore. And I feel like Melanie will do it to be vindictive of Sincere, to show him like, oh, you see, like this is how I feel when you're exploring, so why do you do it to me, kind of way. But I don't think they have genuine interest in going to explore with other people aside from Sincere. I think it's just very messy. But in my opinion, Sincere and Soul seem to be more compatible. I feel like their chats have a lot more range. Even though Sincere and Melanie have been coupled up since day one, I feel like through their conversations, I haven't seen much information get revealed about them versus the few chats that we've seen with Sincere and Soul. We've learned more about his family background, why he has his hairstyle the way that he has it. We learn more about Soul as a new bombshell. So I feel like there's just more vibe, there was more flow, and it seemed like Sincere and Soul's connection came a lot more effortless in comparison to every time Sincere and Melanie are on screen, they're either fighting or all kissed up on each other, and it's just a very toxic, and honestly, it seems kind of draining. I know Anaya commented on that in episode 9 when they were about to go to bed. She said that Sincere and Melanie were super toxic. So I agree. I'm not really a fan of Melanie, so Sincere being recoupled with Soul is kind of the outcome that I was hoping for. One thing that I wanted to note is in episode 9, there's this challenge called Sweet as Pie or something like that, where basically there are some questions that would be viewed as sweet if you were chosen for it, and then the Islanders would have to kiss the person who they feel best like represents the question. And then if it was a naughty one, like a naughty question, and it was mean or shady, they would pie the person in the face. And so we saw that one of the questions was who's not afraid to step on someone's toes? And Soul got pied in the face. And then there was another shady one that she got pied in the face for again. And so we see that Soul starts crying, like she's visibly upset. And to me, this came off as more like a final straw than the challenge purely being pied in the face is the true cause. But I don't feel like the boys really grasped that Soul's crying was more of a build up and an accumulation of all the things that she's experienced since being in the villa, and not so much as just, oh, throwing the pie in her face made her cry. And it definitely seems understandable, and Soul's very valid in her feeling frustrated because she's been ostracized by the girls. Soul has since coming into the village, she's been really interested in Sincere, and he pretty much seems like the only person that was open to exploring with her. So none of the girls really want to talk to her because that's made Melanie obviously really upset. And then we see that Sincere panders towards Melanie's feelings and always tries to prioritize her, telling Melanie all the things that she wants to hear. But sometimes it can feel like he puts Soul on the back burner. And the reality is that all of the guys pied Soul in the face when Melanie should have been the answer. Like when the question was, who isn't afraid to step on toes, that obviously should have been Melanie. Melanie has rubbed Sincere the wrong way with how she explores. She's rubbed all of the girls the wrong way with how she explores. We see that Kinsey and Melanie are supposedly best friends in the villa, and Kinsey isn't the happiest with her because Melanie wanted to explore with Corbin. And then there's a challenge where they were like dunking each other in the slime for the shady questions again. And then Melanie chose to do Kata, even though Kata was just doing her job, and Sincere was actually the person who wanted to have that conversation with her. So I feel like it's painfully obvious to say that, oh, well, Soul, you're a bombshell. That's what they do, so we chose you. But Kata and Jen are also bombshells. So it was kind of like redundant to choose a bombshell in general, and it just felt super shady to choose Soul. I feel like it only made sense to pie an OG girl in the face because why wouldn't a bombshell step on toes? Like, that's what they're here for. Overall, I just feel like the guys' reactions were so weird to seeing Soul be upset. I feel like they treated her wrong, like just because she has a very composed demeanor and just because she can come off as calm and like more internalized with her thoughts and feelings, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have any, she's not a robot. And overall, I would say episode 9 put a bad taste in my mouth. I'm kind of unhappy with everyone in the villa just because it comes off as if Melanie is the only person allowed to have feelings, and it comes off as if Melanie's feelings takes precedence over all of the other girls. Like there's been instances where people have kind of tried to call Melanie out and she doesn't respond well to it, or even with if Sincere and Melanie aren't in a good place, it doesn't really seem like Melanie is all that happy for all the other girls. So I feel like the villa's current climate is all centered around how Melanie feels. And I'm not rocking with that. I feel like it's everyone's experience. So everyone should be allowed to be happy even if Melanie's sad, or vice versa. If Melanie's happy, everyone else doesn't have to jump up and down, bounce up around, flip all around town just because she wants to be in a good mood. I feel like it's everyone's experience, and they should be able to feel their emotions how they feel them. So, Corbin, Bea, and Melanie were all left single after this recoupling, and Corbin gets the opportunity to recouple with one of them, and whoever isn't chosen has to go home. He ends up choosing Melanie, not shocking at all, and Beatrice is sent home. I just wanted to say like one quick thing before now that she's gone, but Bea was definitely in my top 3 of all the girls in the villa. She was so real and refreshing. I feel like she brought a vibe that no one in Love Island history, USA history, has ever brought to the screen. Like she was so honest I feel like she was so good at holding people accountable to their actions, and as well as her, she held herself to high standards, and I love that. I also really enjoyed her connection with Gabe. It was so cute to see her finally be able to be giggling and soft like how she wanted. And without Bea's reality checks, I feel that the villa is going to be in flames. So I'm very interested to see what's in store for week 3. But yeah, those are all my thoughts for Love Island USA Season 8 Week 2 recap. I would love to hear your guys' opinions, so be sure to comment those in the comment section. And be sure to follow me on my other social medias, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, all at Teen TV Deep Dive Podcast for more. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.